Hey, and welcome to the Friday edition of The Nerve. We have an incredible show for you guys today. Diddy trial is going into week 5. Today is the wrap-up of week 4. We have Daily Mail reporter Kayla Brantley, who has been covering this case since the very beginning, is going to be joining us in just a moment. We have a Bill Maher follow-up, which, I mean, the feedback we got from that segment we just did was really something, and we're all gonna discuss it. And there is some levity to be found here. Okay, trust me. We've got feedback on our And Just Like That recap / group trauma bond. And the one and only Kinsey Schofield will be joining us to talk about that video, that twerking video. Okay. But first, we are getting into it with Diddy and the Diddy trial. Welcome, Kayla. Thank you for joining us at The Nerve.
Thank you, Maureen. Always happy to be here.
So I would like to start with you with this bombshell testimony on Wednesday by a woman named Brianna Banna's her nickname Bongolin. She's a close friend of Cassie Ventura's. Now, she testified that in September 2016, she was staying with Cassie at her LA apartment. Sean Combs shows up. Bongolin asks him to leave. He responds by chasing Bongolin out to the balcony. He comes up from behind her. He lifts her up. This woman's 5'1". She weighs 100 pounds soaking wet. He dangles her off the balcony for a good 10 to 15 seconds, yelling at her the whole time. I believe saying something like, "I know what the fuck you did." He's 5'10" and weighs 190 pounds, reportedly. This woman, he pulls her up after, again, 10 to 15 seconds of dangling her off a 17-story balcony and flings her into the outdoor furniture. Now, Bill Maher might say that, this is just the cost of doing business in the music industry, but Kayla and I are going to talk about it with the seriousness it deserves. This woman also testified that rumor around this circle was that Diddy had skinned a rival's dog. Kayla. Oh, and by the way, we have to start off with the first thing, which is the judge gave Diddy a big fat smackdown today in court, or yesterday in court. Yeah, please tell us all about that.
Okay, we will start there with the judge. Judge Aaron Subramanian, he said that he noticed Diddy looking at the jury twice and nodding vigorously. And then he told Diddy's attorney that this is absolutely unacceptable and basically threatened that if it continues to happen, he will have Diddy removed from court and that he can no longer attend his own trial. So Judge Aaron Subramanian was not a happy camper today, and he made it known.
What do you know during what testimony and what was being said that Sean Combs had the gall? Again, this to me is a criminal mind at work. We don't follow rules. We're in federal court. We don't follow rules. Had the gall to look over at that jury not once but twice and nod strenuously, definitively.
Yeah. This was during the cross-examination of Brianna Bongolin, and Diddy's defense attorney came in hot this entire time. It was Nicole Westmoreland who was doing the cross-examination of Brianna, and she really attacked her credibility, brought up all the receipts from her previous discussions with prosecutors to her testimony yesterday and today. And Diddy appeared to completely agree with his attorney and really support her. And I guess at that point, he started looking at the jury and was nodding like, yeah, see, she's lying, which is basically what his attorney was trying to get across.
Now, it's important to note here that that's a tactic, to have a female defense attorney really go hard against a female witness who's hostile, who's testifying against you. From what I was reading of what happened during her testimony, it was they were breaking apart a bit her credibility in terms of, hey, weren't you on a shit ton of drugs when this happened? Hey, don't you aren't you misremembering? Sean Combs, there are hotel receipts, which you could blow a hole in this really, but there are hotel receipts showing him at the Trump International, and you've got him in LA.
Yeah, that's exactly what they were saying. I mean, Brianna testified that she and Cassie would do a lot of drugs together and she would even sell Cassie drugs. But what was really, their gotcha moment for the prosecution was that she had testified that this happened on or about September 26, 2016. But then at that time, the defense attorney brought out receipts showing that Diddy was in New York at the Trump International, and she showed his order, his room service. However, that was under the name Frank Black, which is an alias that Diddy uses often. And she asked, do you agree that people can't be in two places at once? To which point, Brianna said, I don't know.
I mean, do they have video of him entering and exiting during this time period, or could this have
Well,
been
that
like,
we have not seen. We've only seen, physical receipts is what was presented. We did not see video so far of Diddy on the other side of the US.
Kayla, if the defense, well, the defense has yet, it's not their turn. Right now, it's the prosecution. But would the defense, if they had said video, would they not just show it during this woman's testimony to counter her claims?
I mean, Nicole Westmoreland, Diddy's attorney, was bringing every receipt, but it was all, either text or testimony, from her previous conversations with the government or from her previous complaint. Now, this woman, Brianna, has sued Diddy for $10 million dollars, and she filed a complaint with all these details, including the rumor that Diddy skinned a dog, that this was something that she had heard. She didn't know if it was true, but that's what instilled the fear into her. So, like you said, it is going to be the defense team's time to, bring all their evidence forward. So I think maybe that is when they will start bringing videos, more photos, and things like that.
Yeah, because there was visual evidence submitted in court of her bruises.
Mm-hmm.
She had a bruise on her leg that was, from what I've read, the size of a softball.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
and
You
this was
saw
a
it. It was presented in court, and I saw it yesterday in the courtroom. They put it on the screen, and you see it's a kind of zoomed in. It's of the back of her thigh, super dark bruise with kind of a dot in the middle. It showed her back with bandages on it. She said she went to the chiropractor. The chiropractor asked her, what happened, who did this, and she refused to answer. Again, what she said was out of fear.
this is so interesting. When I was reading about the defense saying, well, we've got him booked at the Trump International in New York City, and we've got room service orders and text messages. I'm thinking, so what? Like, if half of this stuff is true, this guy's a criminal mastermind and he's just got some like low level employee hanging out there under his name. Like, by the way, I love this suit in Frank Black. Like, that's the name of the lead singer of the Pixies. And it makes me think, like, is Sean Combs a Pixies fan? Like, does he have a secret alt rocker inside? I mean, does he contains multitudes, I suppose. But this woman also. So again, like, I tend to believe these women. I don't know how you feel, Kayla, but like, if I have to get up and testify against Sean Combs, a man who more than one person has said that guy threatened my life, that guy threatened my family members. If I ever said anything, I would be terrified. There's no amount of money any lawsuit could possibly bring me that would make that worth it to me. She said on
Well,
the
that's
stand,
what she
right?
said. Yeah. Yep. That's exactly
Sorry.
what she said, that she would give all the money back. She wouldn't want any millions, 1 million, 10 million, if she could reverse the damage that's been done. She said she wakes up, from nightmares and is very paranoid when she walks into her house. She looks around to make sure nobody's there. So she said, she's suing for $10 million for justice, but there's no price on the pain that's been allegedly inflicted.
I mean, I'm sure she still lives with chronic pain to this day. He dangled, and of course, the psychological trauma. He dangled her off, allegedly, a 17-story high balcony, which is a very favored tactic among a certain segment of the hip hop community. Suge Knight used to do this too. And when those rumors first began surfacing, I mean, this was like the baby days of the internet. It was kind of like, that is so wild. Could that possibly be true? And, we later learned it was pretty true.
Yeah, you
So,
see it
and,
in movies.
you see it in movies, you see it in, like, the mafia does it. It's a very,
Yeah.
there's this case that's about to blow up in New York City. Like, we're just beginning to learn the details, but this crypto guy was held hostage for like 2 weeks in like a $28 million downtown mansion. And he was dangled over a spiral staircase that looks like it probably was about 17 stories up. Like it's the same kind of tactic. So what was her demeanor when when the prosecution was sorry, when the defense was finished with her?
Yeah, so she was very soft spoken. She, especially when she was describing the scene on the balcony, very soft spoken, very demure. She took pauses, and then when the defense came on and they started asking her, she was very short with her answers. A lot of things had to be repeated because you know they were trying to make her out to seem like a liar, and she could tell that that was happening. So it was a lot of I don't know, I don't recall. She did sign immunity. She does have immunity for this. So, that means that anything she says on the stand, she can't be prosecuted for because she did, admit to doing lots of drugs, to selling drugs. And Diddy's defense lawyer did say to her, if you lie on the stand, that immunity goes away. So, she was speaking with that in the back of her mind and just very careful with her words.
Kayla, can you talk a little bit about the testimony of someone named Mia?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Mia. So she worked for Diddy for from 2009 to 2017. Mia is a pseudonym, so her identity hasn't been revealed. She's claimed that she was abused by Combs, both sexually, psychologically, and that there were moments, some of harrowing stories that she described. A trip in Turks and Caicos where she escaped with Cassie on a paddle board in the ocean, and then a storm rolled in, and they had to decide, are we going to face Mother Nature, or are we going to go back to the beach and face Diddy? So these are the types of stories that we were hearing, and that she had to describe her job description. And in her job description, one of her duties was to stay in Diddy's line of sight, to not be out of his sight. So there was some harrowing testimony from Mia.
I read that she testified that he once yelled at her for she was tasked with counting the money in his safe. I forget where in the world this was, and that she was doing it too slowly. And he said to her, wait, I have the quote right here. He said to her, "You better learn to walk on water like Jesus did, bitch." Then he ordered her out of his sight. She said the highs were really high, but the lows were really, really low. Um, this is unbelievable. So she's testifying. These women who are testifying, Kayla, under pseudonyms, are they required physically to be in the courtroom where he can see them?
Oh, absolutely. They are sitting right in front of him. So when you look at the setup of the court, there's a witness stand, of course, that's right next to the judge. He's in about the third row. So there's, teams of attorneys. He's back in the third row, but you have a clear view of him. So I know when Cassie was testifying, he didn't really look at her directly in the eye, but, she could see him. And when these witnesses are testifying, he's, writing things down, he's whispering to his attorneys, and, apparently he's nodding at the jury now.
I also read that during the testimony of Bongolan, when she was describing, tell me if I'm right, when she was describing being dangled off a balcony, allegedly, her testimony, that Diddy was also looking over at the jury and they were all expressionless.
Yeah. So throughout this trial, the jury really has remained calm, cool, collective. They haven't really shown much of a reaction, which, is very good on them. They're listening to some very disturbing details. However, I was in the court overflow room yesterday during this testimony. And to explain what that is, basically, you have to line up super early. They have professional line holders to get into the courtroom. And then once that fills up, they bring you into another courtroom, which is empty except for, the gallery. And there's screens that are live streaming what's going on in court. In there are some journalists, who I recognize, who I know. They take all of your electronics before you get in. So it's paper and pen and highlighters, just like the old days. But then there were people, members of the public who were there. Lots of what I would say, from what I observed, Diddy supporters. There were times when Brianna Bongolan was testifying and when the she was under cross-examination, they asked her something where it appeared she was caught in a lie. And at one point, I saw a guy turn around and say to his friend, "Oh, she's lying. She's lying," which, of course, is not allowed. We are in a federal courtroom, whether it's where the court is actually happening or in the overflow room. And there was a guard who told everyone to simmer down.
This is, yeah, yeah. I mean, we're going to get to this later in the show, but while I have you here, I wanted to ask you too what you know about. So the prosecution filed into evidence under seal about 10 sex videos involving Cassie Ventura. What do you know about potentially what they may contain, how many people may be involved in those freak offs, and whether the jury is going to see parts or all of those videos?
Yeah, well, the contents of it so far haven't been revealed, but they are not going to be definitely not distributed to the public. But earlier this week, we had a specialist, Frank Piazza, come on the stand, and he testified that these are all legitimate videos, that they haven't been doctored, which has been Diddy's team's argument. They're not true in the age of AI. How can you prove this? And he kind of put that to bed. So those are completely accurate videos.
Yeah, I remember reading that about that testimony the other day and thinking, wow, this is going to be like really dry stuff for the jury to get through, but how important it is. He's alleging these are cheap fakes, deep fakes, AI, but it's not 50 Cent having fun, with some like AI videos of Sean Combs with Jeffrey Epstein or slugging some baby oil before he beds down in a federal penitentiary. What do you know, Kayla, before I let you go? Because I know you have to go, and I thank you so much for your time today. This is just incredible stuff. There's a woman, another pseudonym, Jane, who's allegedly another sexual assault victim of Sean Combs, who began her testimony yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, so Jane took the stand again, a pseudonym. And she actually, we know that she's an influencer who has a child with one of Diddy's nemesis, a rival of Diddy. Of course, again, she is anonymous, so we don't exactly know who that is, but she testified, that she felt coerced into doing these freak offs and that Diddy actually paid her rent. So she felt like she had no choice but to participate
Mhm.
in these freak offs.
Thank you, Kayla, for giving us all of the scoop from what is going on inside that courtroom. It's also really, it's important to know. For me, I find it dispiriting. It's not surprising that there are men who are just showing up, fans of Sean Combs, to cheer him on and call all of these women who I'm sure are petrified to testify, liars. But thank you, and I am sure that we will be speaking again. And everybody who's listening to this and listening to Kayla, go over to her podcast at the Mail, The Trial of Diddy, to get all of your details. Thanks again, Kayla.
Thanks, Maureen.
Before we let this go, I just want to give two quick updates. A guy named Sean Deering gave an interview to People magazine, and he's one of the sex workers that Cassie and Diddy had hired. And again, I'm using the sort of technicalities of it. It's unclear whether she was under duress at the time, if this was a part of the relationship where she was into it. I don't know. But this guy is really, he's really good looking. He looks like David Beckham. Between him and the Punisher, like clearly Sean Combs was splashing out for the creme de la creme of male sex workers. And again, I think this tells us something about Sean Diddy Combs. I really do. Anyway, Sean Deering gave this interview, and then he said something like, he thought Cassie was a decent person and he got very concerned for her because whenever Diddy would leave the room, when Sean would go to ask Cassie a question, she would say, no, no, you have to wait till he comes back before I can speak to you. So that gives a lot of credence to what Cassie is alleging here. Also, The Punisher, we all went through his book. Doing great. This is great for him. He's doing the podcast rounds, he's doing the media circuit. His book is like zooming up the Amazon charts. People are going to emerge from this, I think, a little bit better than when they went into it. But I want to end this. I want to end this segment with a video that has surfaced of Sean Combs was with Cassie. This is years and years and years ago. I don't have the exact date, but it's early on in her career. I think this was after she performed on BET. And he's decided that he's going to offer his critique. Take a look.
Homegirl Cassie right here, she had a semi, no, I would say it was a whack show. She had a pretty whack show on BET, did not perform at the level of the bad boy excellence, I would say.
For those of you who might not know, like whack is an old school hip hop term. People don't really throw it around anymore, but it means like she fucked up. She sucked. She was really bad. He said, she's not at the level of a bad boy performer, but we'll get her there. And to the Bill Mahers of the world, and we're going to get there too. We have a lot to discuss there. That is exactly how an abuser starts off grooming their prey. You gas them up a little bit, and then you slide the knife in with an insult meant to really level you. Like that's what she wanted more than anything. She wanted to be a performer. He's leveling her. And then in the back end, he's saying, but we're going to bring her up to our level. So he's like making you feel special while also making you feel completely humiliated. He's doing that on camera for a reason. And she has to sit there and take it and smile like it's not affecting her, like it's not making her question every single life decision she's made up until this point and how many people are going to see this. That's what they do. Okay. That's just a tiny glimpse into that world. Up next, we are going to get into you guys and your response to this Bill Maher bit that we did the other day on our last show, taking him to the woodshed for what he dared to say about victims of domestic violence. Then we'll be reading your other mail. We'll be back in a minute. Father's Day is coming fast, and if you're eyeing another Thai or gas station gift card, stop, okay? You can do a lot better and soak in the dad in your life. I'm going to put you on to something that actually delivers. Maybe you've heard Meghan Kelly or Joe Rogan talk about it, but now you're going to hear about it from me, Firecracker.farm. Now, this isn't a mass-produced, flavorless filler. It's handcrafted. It's genuinely special seasoning. The packaging is so cool and so thoughtful, and the flavor is so multi-layered. And yes, it's a real family-run business, and that alone makes it worth supporting. But here's the deal. They don't make tons of this stuff, so when it's gone, it's gone. And with Father's Day around the corner, it's going to sell out. So the move is Firecracker Farm Hot Salt. This isn't just seasoning. It is a stainless steel grinder packed with coarse sea salt and a perfect blend of hot peppers. It's bold, savory, and it elevates, just like Meghan Markle, it elevates everything. Steaks, veggies, eggs, you name it. They've got different heat levels too, so you can tailor it to his taste. This is no last minute Amazon panic buy. It is a thoughtful, unique, and unforgettable gift, but you need to act now. Go to firecracker.farm, yes, .farm with an F, and use code THENERVE for a special discount. You're welcome. Now go and get him something he'll actually use and love. We are back. Now, before we get to Bill Maher and audience email, we also got a huge response to the season 3 coverage, the coverage we gave to the season 3 premiere of And Just Like That. And, the way we all sort of talked about the elderly, osteoarthritic looking, young, whimsical coquette that is Sarah Jessica Parker. And that episode also contained a graphic warning, a mutual phone masturbation session, and Rosie O'Donnell in bed with Cynthia Nixon. We were all shaken to our core, our very foundations, but we rise, we rise. So here are some of the best comments and emails from the comment section. Kim Cattrall made the best decision of her career to not join the show. We have all ratified that many times over. I agree with you. The Rosie Nunn character is another example of the contempt Hollywood has for the Catholic community. Agreed. And just like that is a vulgar and inhumane show. Agreed. It really, quoting what we said at the Nerve the other day, it really exists as a shrine to the ego of one Sarah Jessica Parker. Spot on. Please keep critiquing Sex and the City. This is also fascinating to me, and I cannot get enough. You've got it. You got it, troublemakers. We hear you loud and clear. We will stay on this. Episode 2. See you back here next week for that. Okay, now, Bill Maher. In the last episode, we started off the show with what I thought was something that had to be said, which is namely that Bill Maher is a complete misogynistic pig. And he went and did this op-ed on Real Time last week in which he essentially blamed victims of domestic violence who are disproportionately female. I've heard from men as well who suffered, trust me, and survived, but disproportionately female. And he basically said, if you don't leave after the first time, like it's this cut and dry, then it's all on you. It's all on you. And by the way, I know a lot of you ladies out there, you're just, like you'll take it if you can get some fame and money out of it, just like, all right, I'm just going to calm myself down. So anyway, we're a baby show. We are a baby show. But I will say that we have not received such overwhelming feedback, this powerful, this moving, this personal, upsetting, and inspiring, and 100% of it all. We are all on the same page. We are all on the same page that Bill Maher is awful for saying what he said, and he owes everyone a huge apology. Huge. Now, as many of you pointed out in your emails and comments, and I'm really glad that you did, often the most difficult time, the most dangerous time for a woman attempting to get out of a violent relationship is when she decides to leave. Okay, Bill? That's when she is in mortal danger. That's when her children are in the most danger. And studies have shown that it takes most women between 6 and 8 attempts to get out. And that's with their lives intact and their children alive. And even then, the psychological and emotional scars never go away. So again, fuck you, Bill Maher. Now, before I get to your emails, I was reminded of this story, and I'm going to tell it briefly because it's so salient. This piece of shit named Chad Doerman, and I pulled the news coverage, and look at him. He's crying because a judge sentenced him to life for murdering his 3 sons, okay? He was sentenced in 2024, August 3rd of last year. According to the Bill of Particulars, on June 15th, 2023, Chad Doerman returned home from work early and requested that his 3 sons and wife join him for a nap. After they had laid down on the bed, he opened his gun safe. He retrieved his rifle. His son Hunter was 4, shot him twice, killed him. Stepdaughter in the house had been watching television. She ran into the room. She witnessed the first shots. She ran after Clayton, 7-year-old boy, told him to keep running. Doerman chased this little boy into a nearby field, shot him from behind, and again, point blank in the head. Carried the body back to the house's yard. Then he goes for the 3-year-old kid. Stepdaughter scooped this child up, escaped to the road. Doerman followed her, aimed the rifle at her. He ran out of ammo. He then either rearmed or whatever. He shot this little boy in the head. He discharged his rifle 9 times, and he laid all the boys out in the front yard, waiting for the cops. So this guy had a record. Guess what? Domestic violence. Okay, and everybody in the neighborhood knew. They said this guy was angry all the time, treated his family poorly. That's polite legalese for now, this is how complicated and frankly, you better be a specialist in this stuff if you're going to open your mouth, Bill, okay? Because the stepdaughter who tried to save the lives of these little boys, who ran with them into fields away from her stepfather, who was firing a rifle at them, spoke at the sentencing, and this is what she said. You gave me an amazing life, and I will forever be grateful for the memories and the time you spent with me. I don't think I will ever be able to hate you. I will forever hold on to the memories I had with you and the boys because those are all happy memories, and those were the best times. You were the best dad I could ever have asked for. If you don't think that these guys know exactly how to manipulate and to groom and to keep women and girls on the back foot, never knowing what's coming, whether it's love and affection or a vicious beating to within an inch of their lives, or sexual assaults and rapes, and then shooting little kids. There's another case that's just come to light too. And, if Bill Maher is smart, keep his mouth shut. I'm going to read some of your emails, and I'm keeping you all and identifying details. Those will not be spoken by me. Uh, Subject line, finally, Bill Maher is a pig. Uh, I listened to the Girls Next Level podcast. It's two of the former playmates, girlfriends of Hugh Hefner, excuse me. They call Bill the fourth girl next door because he was always at the Playboy Mansion and is in way too many of their pics. So Hugh Hefner was another creeper who insisted on women using baby oil. In summary, Bill Maher is a misogynist who hides behind his liberalism, just like Howard Stern. Agreed. Regarding Bill Maher, my father started abusing my mother before my twin sister and I were born. Bill Maher's comments are a form of abuse themselves. It would have been more in his line to say something to the abusers. Agreed. As many abusers do, though. Not saying he is. I'm just reading just reading some feedback. He went for the soft target. Shame on him. Agreed. Writing from the UK. She listens on her way driving home. I'm not aware of who he is. That's the cruelest cut to a Bill Maher, not knowing who the fuck he is. But the fact that this man is able to go onto U.S. television, and Brits don't get this because we have complete First Amendment freedom of speech, and spout this complete fucking nonsense about abused women is unbelievable to me. Who on earth is actually putting this into the TV schedule? Troublemakers, now is the time. Bombard HBO and Bill and his reps with your outrage and demand an apology. Demand an apology. And if you won't, demand a suspension. Demand a fine. This man sounds as if he is a danger to women everywhere. I am in the very fortunate position of not having experienced such abuse, but I absolutely understand that many of these poor souls are unable to simply pack up and leave for a myriad of reasons. How fucking dare he even speak about this? Hi, Maureen. I've always suspected that Bill Maher hated the whole Me Too era. He can't swallow, humble pie about women's rights without regurgitating some of his bullshit back at us. And us includes men and boys. This guy writing to me. In your Nerve episode Troublemaker comments, there are several mentions that Bill Maher uses a laugh track. He does. He's got what they call sweeteners in there. And it's usually that guy who's always going, yeah, during his live monologue. And when you listen closely, there are female laughing voices featured in the laugh track as well. Because who else would laugh at Bill Maher's sexist, misogynistic, misplaced diatribe? Our sons and daughters don't need to be poisoned by his shit. Signed, Troublemaker #1. Bill Maher, when you say he must have known about Weinstein, almost guaranteed, since his good friend Seth MacFarlane did the joke at the Oscars nominations announcement in 2013, we can even look at what he did when, quote, everyone knew. The Times article dropped on Thursday, October 5th, 2017. Troublemaker, I will take your word for it, but I do believe it was around that time in 2017. Maher had a show the next night. Silence, not one word. Of course, SNL followed suit, and that's when Lorne Michaels gave his famous excuse. It's a New York thing. This is an infestation in the culture. These old men who stand up for the likes of Harvey fucking Weinstein, Sean Puffy Combs, are you fucking kidding me? Maureen, emotional psychological abuse is far worse than beatings. I heal pretty quickly from broken bones. Someone who would know, okay? Just saying. But after 50 years, I am still working on healing the psychological abuse. I was convinced that his anger was my fault. That is what they do to you. If I adjusted my attitude a little bit, she was convinced we would be okay. No need to strike me. No need to strike me. I got out of it and survived only to choose another abuser 30 years later. I am strong. I am very intelligent, but it was explained to me that we are drawn to that which is familiar to us. Different is scary. Truer words, even good different, can be very scary to choose. Maureen, I was in an abusive marriage for 3 years. I was too scared to leave him until my friends at work saw the bruises. I had two babies, and if it was not for my friends and family, I probably still would be in that relationship or dead. His mother was the Bill Maher of that relationship. After I left him over the abuse, she called me and asked if I was PMSing. Thank you for doing the show. Maybe there is a woman out there who is in an abusive relationship and she will get the courage to leave, like my friends and family gave me. I'm sure, hearing all of these testimonials, which are incredible. Finally, from a woman who writes, I understand why the women and girls growing up didn't want to sleep with a young Bill Maher. They sensed he was a complete abusive asshole, a supposition with which I agree. I grew up in an abusive household. He has no clue, as you mentioned, of the psychological mindfuck that you experience from abuse. The self-esteem, the shame that you lose from these people is so huge. Excuse me, your personality, your body, and your nervous system. It changes you forever. The fear overwhelms you. If there is karma, Bill Maher will be born into a woman's body in another life. He will then be beaten the shit out of at all levels of abuse, and he will deserve it. I love that email. I love it. Finally, we troublemakers are going to enact the best kind of revenge, against Bill Maher. So there's this amazing comic that I was just recently introduced to, not like personally, but shown. And he's named Kyle Dunnigan, and this guy does a dead on Bill Maher, like so dead on that Bill Maher, and I've done my research, so don't come at me, Bill Maher. You got bigger problems as it is anyway. So Bill Maher claims to have no idea who this guy is. Like none. And it doesn't even bother him that someone's out there doing these impressions. But Kyle knows, and we all know that Bill Maher knows who he is and that he hates this guy. He hates Kyle. So I'm going to show you two clips, and these are a real treat. And you've got to watch them. You've got to tune into this part of the show. If you're listening, do yourself a favor, because Kyle not only nails the smarm, but he nails the contempt. And Bill Maher's contempt has a real musicality to it. It's got real ups and downs. Okay, this guy is a fucking genius. Here's his Bill Maher waiting for his quote unquote black hooker at Christmas time. His words, not mine. Watch.
'Twas the minute before my hooker gets here, and all through the house, my penis was stirring, 'cause I just took a dick pill. So while we wait for my whore and my boner, I would like to take this minute to explain to Zillennials what being an adult is. It's when you take money you worked hard for at a job to give to a black hooker for her to twerk on your penis inside a house that isn't owned by your parents. I'm sorry, I forgot. Twerking isn't for giving a man a boner. It's for teaching women how to be CEOs.
Okay, that's
kids.
good. That's great. That's great. So now we're going to move on to Bill. Kyle as Bill, rather, reading to children. Now, of course, the underlying joke is we all know Bill Maher hates children, but this is also Kyle really captures Bill's belief that he is forever the smartest guy in his television studio. Watch this.
And now another episode of Bill Maher reading to children.
Okay, hey diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon. Oh really? A cow jumped over the moon? It took NASA astronauts going 17,000 miles an hour a week to get to the moon. This is bullshit. A cow couldn't jump over one of you stupid idiots during nappy time, okay? Oh, you're crying now? I'm on page 2. Buckle up, assholes.
Swear to God, I have tears in my eyes. It was so freaking funny. So I hope that puts a little pep in Bill's step hours before he goes to do his next live broadcast of Real Time. And again, I hope you troublemakers mobilize and bombard HBO and Bill Maher with the thoughts that you shared with me, because he needs some consequences. I'm not saying we should cancel people. I don't really love cancel culture, and I don't really believe in it. But he should suffer, and he needs to apologize, which is the hardest thing for guys like him. We're going to make him pay. Now, I love all of your incredible feedback. it's, we are really, again, like this, the personal stuff that you guys are sharing, both in comments and with me in emails, it just goes to this incredible group of people that we are building together. So please keep writing me, keep emailing me. I am Maureen at devilmaycaremedia.com. Let me know what you're loving, what you want us to see, what you want us to continue to cover, the and just like that stuff. That's a direct reaction of what you guys say you want. You got it. You want it. You got it. You're the boss. And like and subscribe, and be sure to spread the word, because the faster we continue to grow, the faster we can give you even more new original content. Up next, Kinsey Schofield will be joining me to talk about that twerking video that Meghan Markle dropped. We're going to get through it together, as we always do. See you after the break. Introducing a Warehouse, your one-stop shop for unique premium home goods sourced exclusively from small businesses. In a world where nearly everything is mass-produced, a Warehouse is doing things differently. They're committed to preserving traditional craftsmanship and directly supporting the makers behind the products by offering a curated selection of these expertly made goods. With a strong focus on American-made manufacturing, over 75% of their vendors are based right here in the U.S. From hand-thrown pottery and artisanal kitchen tools to luxurious candles, soaps, and more, every item is selected for its integrity, craftsmanship, and story. Small businesses need our support now more than ever. This year, Forbes has predicted a record-breaking 15,000 retail store closures in the U.S. That's more than double the 7,000 plus closures in 2024. So by making the effort to support these small retailers, you can really make a difference in people's lives today. A Warehouse believes that true luxury isn't about brand names or labels or price tags. It's about the dedication, creativity, and care that goes into every product. If you value made in the USA manufacturing and you want to fill your home with items that tell a story, visit awarehouseshop.com/discount/thenerve and use code THENERVE for 15% off your first order. That's awarehouseshop.com/discount-thenerve, promo code THENERVE. We are back with the one and only Kinsey Schofield. Now, you guys, I am lucky enough to guest on Kinsey's show. I do it about twice a month, and I just did it on Wednesday. And we thought between the both of us that we had hit every note there was to hit in the Meghan Markle saga. And then on Wednesday, what shows up in all of our algorithms, all of our Instagram feeds, but one, Meghan Markle in allegedly a labor and delivery room with her loser of a husband, pregnant and twerking to allegedly induce labor. I saw this and I sent an emergency 911 text to Kinsey. And I said, would you please, I know you're so busy, but would you please join us at the Nerve to please talk about this? Kinsey is here, and we are the Justice League. We convene when it matters, when it's most important. Before we start though, let's just watch this moment of Zen from South Park. Okay. For those of you who are listening, that was the cartoon Meghan and Harry holding their placards, their protesting signs saying, "We want privacy, we want privacy." Okay. So and then we've got the twerking video. So we're gonna take a look at this together.
Back to back.
Back to back. Kinsey, I don't know about you, but for me, this is a very lengthy video. And for me, the moment where, she's like, she starts off slow and then she really begins to feel herself. You can tell. And, this most sacred moment, and he's coming into frame like a fucking moron, in and out. Like he can only be there on the edges, and he looks like a frog. This is not cool. And she's like spreading her legs and jamming her ass backwards. Like, please help me, Kinsey. What is going on here?
She was one beat drop away from my neck, my back. And believe me when I tell you, Meghan Markle can finish that sentence. It is so unreal. royal. And I know that this is something that was trending a few years ago, classic Meghan, a day late and a dollar short. But this is not what we expect from a woman that insists on being called the Duchess of Sussex. Okay, this is what I expect from the girl giving a blowjob in the pilot episode of Beverly Hills, the new Beverly Hills 90210, which is also something we got from Meghan Markle. I am so offended by this because we have discussed this in the past. You know, Meghan talking on her podcast about never give away a baby name, never ask somebody what their opinion of your baby name is. To me, that was proof that she did not ask Queen Elizabeth if she could steal the name Lilibet. That was the Queen's private nickname that she was given as a child. Now, the BBC reported at the time that they did not truthfully ask permission. After Harry and Meghan said they did, Harry and Meghan threatened a lawsuit. BBC refused to back down. And to me, that tells me that the BBC was in the right when they said palace sources were telling them that they did not, in fact, get permission. If you're going to steal this woman's name, this woman who truly did give an entire life of service to the world, really. I think we all love Queen Elizabeth, even if she wasn't our queen. Then the least you could do is not hump around on the internet for what? For clicks, for likes? I mean, what is the objective of sharing this video?
I think the objective is I think it's a huge FU to the royal family because, as you said, it's so distinctly unroyal. It's not even like, here's like something that maybe feels a little bit too intimate that we're sharing, you know? It's like, you know, if it were Meghan post birth, whatever, it's actually, to me, it's the equivalent of the deep mocking curtsy. I mean, it's a million times worse, but the deep mocking curtsy that Meghan gave while her sad excuse for a husband sat idly by, I should say, not blithe. He looked pained, but he sat there idly by while she made fun of his grandmother, who, as you said, gave her life in service, a job she never wanted and she didn't ask for, but she took it because she really had a deep, abiding respect for what the monarchy is and represents. And as you said, you know, that reminds me, the reporting out of the palace was that when she was informed what they had named their daughter, that Queen Elizabeth, who is not given, as many Brits are not, to self-pity, said they have taken the only thing that was entirely mine.
Right. And now we're going to associate the name Lilibet with her gyrating all over the internet for free 99. I mean, she didn't even get paid for this. So, you know, maybe Meta will cut her some deal for all the traffic she's sending them their way. But it's so vulgar. It's so gross. It's not cute. And it just gives you a real idea of how desperate she is to constantly stay in the headlines. She loves that we're talking about her right now. This is what she lives for. This is the oxygen that she needs, is attention, whether it's good or bad. Who are you trying to attract here? But also, speaking of Netflix, I think it's also important that we acknowledge that around this time, they are secretly recording for Netflix. Remember that video of Prince Harry getting excited because he's getting on his Tyler Perry freedom flight. He's recording himself. Yes. The Doria footage. Doria is shooting the intimate footage of Harry and Meghan watching their Oprah interview for the first time. Doria following them around as Harry's getting text messages from Prince William. So was this recorded? It's almost grosser when you imagine that it's recorded for Netflix and it's not some cute little intimate thing that they recorded for each other. And Meghan just decided to share with the world to honor her daughter on her fourth birthday. Like, get out of here.
That's the excuse. Yeah. I'm honoring my daughter. Like, it's just all about you. I mean, first of all, there's a lot of online chatter as to the veracity of a lot of this. Like, was she even pregnant during this time? Was it a surrogate? Like, how is she allowed in what is meant to seem to us a labor and delivery room wearing her street clothes and her jewelry? You know, I've had medical professionals.
Diana's jewelry.
Great catch, Kinsey. You don't miss a trick. Like, what do you think? Oh,
I mean, when it comes to that I don't know. Do you know that this woman that allegedly delivered Lily had to shut down her practice almost immediately after Lily was born because there were several lawsuits against her because of deaths? I mean, it's all I guess this woman was so intimidated by Harry and Meghan, perhaps, that they could walk in and go, "I'm going to wear my millions of dollars worth of jewelry and my street clothes while giving birth." I don't know. Obviously, allegedly, I guess I should say, this woman didn't always play by the rules, and that's why she was sued multiple times and had to shut down her facility.
So, Kinsey, was she operating like, because this is stuff that most of us regular people in the world really aren't aware of. Was this woman operating like a high-end birthing facility that's
Oh,
like
yes.
private?
Yes, in Santa Barbara. And now she has recently reopened in some capacity, but she had to shut down temporarily, said she was going to go spend time with her friends. She wanted to spend more time with her friends and family. And it was later revealed, thanks to your friends at the Daily Mail, that she actually had to shut down because of multiple lawsuits.
And we don't know the particulars.
A baby died.
Oh
That's as
my
far as I know.
God.
Yeah. That's as far as I know. One of the lawsuits that she fought against, and she's come back. But again, this is now 4 years after Lily's birth that she's finally getting back on her feet.
So, you know, we touched on this, I think, on your show the other day, but we know it's bad now. Like, we know that things are, yes, there is ode to desperation. You know, that's the mushroom cloud around these two. It's so desperate. And I was thinking, on Wednesday when this dropped, and of course, all the entertainment shows picked it up and they're running it like it's normal and like it's cute. And like that's why we here at the Nerve exist, to say no, to push back, to say this is freaky shit.
Yeah.
And it's completely an fu to the royal family. And I mean, Charles will not strip these titles, but I now think there is zero question William is going to strip these titles immediately. It will be his first order of business.
Please, we're begging
please,
you.
we are begging you. Know that your friends in America find these two utterly distasteful, and we see exactly what they're doing, and we don't find them charming, and we don't find them cute, we don't find them subversive, we find them repellent. And now we're seeing the children. Okay, again, the children who we were never meant to see. This is why we had to flee in the dead of night on Tyler Perry's private jet, which, by the way, Meghan, in her bonus episode of her podcast with Beyonce's mom, Tina Knowles, you and I discussed that plenty, so we won't revisit it here. But they two have those two have a little sidebar where they're like, you know what makes a day better? Tyler Perry and like his jet, just saying, isn't he the great face? They're muling to each other, isn't he? As Meghan mules, she's a muler. She's a
Yeah.
muler. And so now we're seeing the faces. We're beginning to see more of the faces. Like they're still somewhat obscured, but she posted a photo the other day of Lily, of Meghan, of course, cradling. Meghan's the real star, but we're seeing a good 3/4 of her face. And Harry with one of the babies as an infant. I thought that the children were utterly off limits, utterly, completely off limits. But now, Kinsey, why? Why?
Oh, because she's got to sell her brand because nobody believes that she's this wholesome Betty homemaker that's got cookies baking in the oven for the kids when they race home from school, so desperate to be with her because she's mommy of the year. I think it's all about selling, and pushing her agenda, which is become being the same girl that she writes about as an 11-year-old. It's not just women all over the world that are fighting greasy pots and pans. That made a little 11-year-old Meghan so mad, according to Meghan. She always negates to mention that this is a school project, that she writes Procter and Gamble, and Procter and Gamble changes their commercial for her. Then it's people all over the world, not women. And now Meghan is stuck in a kitchen, and we're not buying it. We're not buying that she's this. And so she's like, oh, somebody grab me a kid I could throw on my hip. No, she's, yanking it away from the nanny to say, no, I need this for the picture.
Right. These art directed photos. I mean, these are photos that are like art directed within an inch of their lives,
Yeah.
these black and white, not like it's almost like they're sort of rebranding as Kennedy-esque, these nautical photos. We're on boats, we're barefoot, we're on islands, and I just think that there's also a theory that she dropped that twerking video to seem much more relatable and down to earth, in part because Brooke Shields has gone viral
Mhm.
for her, like they were having a conversation at South by Southwest, like a moderated panel or whatever. And Meghan once again launched into this intolerable, insufferable origin story. We all know it, Meghan. We all know it. And as Kinsey just said, it wasn't an auto-generated spark of genius by you, the burgeoning rebel feminist. This was a class assignment. The whole class wrote to Procter and Gamble. Okay. And anyway, on and on she goes, and she's losing the audience. And Brooke Shields pipes up and says, "Hey, you know what's funny? When I was 11, I was playing a prostitute, and the whole crowd laughs. Finally, like the air has been punctured in that bubble." And there's a theory that that's why Meghan wants to seem, down to earth, relatable. She can have fun. She's a fun girl.
Yeah, well, let's not forget that yesterday at the same time, the story dropped that Prince Harry's court costs could potentially cost taxpayers like millions of dollars. So I also wonder sometimes if they're trying to distract from that. That is going to anger UK taxpayers, that every time Prince Harry has a hissy fit, has a conniption, that it costs them money. They're going to continue to reject him and his family. And to that point too, stop telling us that your family's in jeopardy and you're afraid somebody's going to throw acid on your wife's face, and allow us into the delivery room.
Don't give people ideas. If you
That
really
too.
are that afraid, don't
Yeah.
give people ideas, you fucking moron. These two are such losers. They are such losers. And they're the only two who don't know it. Still have not heard if Meghan's getting a season 2 of that podcast from Lemonada, despite bagging Beyonce's mom, who she made sure to tell us, who made that call? Beyonce's mom made the call to Meghan. It wasn't the other way around. Is that true? I don't know. But she's always got to slide that stuff in. There's no moment of elevating herself that she will not fail to take. And she doesn't realize it makes her look worse, not better. Now, before I let you go, because you've been very generous, my fellow Justice League warrior, you sent over this amazing report that the same day as the historic King's birthday parade, the Trooping the Color, this Charles is in the fight of his life. He's got an undisclosed kind of cancer that, has seemingly, been affecting him, that whatever treatment he's getting, he bowed out of a couple of things. Anyway, so this is going to be a very, very, very important day for King and country. Meghan is going to be honored at an LA gala on the same day.
Yes, she's going to be talking about championing women and underserved communities, because she does so much of that. She leaves Santa Barbara so often, Montecito. This is we talked about this a few weeks ago. The King goes to Canada, and you know how important this is, with Trump saying like we're going to get you. The King goes to Canada to kind of like say, no, we're going to continue to protect this land. And where's Harry? In China, doing, these two are notorious for trying to hijack the headlines when it comes to royal milestones. But you and I both know that the next day it's going to be Prince Louis across every newspaper, and not Meghan Markle with whatever participation trophy she picks up that day.
And to your point, Kinsey, and to my point about what losers they are, Charles is in Canada reinforcing its importance to the British Empire. And those two go to China, which is, one of our greatest enemies that is seeking. We just arrested 2 spies here who were trying to, it looks like, to commit agricultural terrorism. They go to China. They're so stupid.
They are. They go to China to talk about the environment and environmental sustainability while doing like that. What is that? A 12,000 mile lap? And like you just said, agriculture, China attacking America. So nothing they do makes sense. They're full of hypocrisy, but it's the them show. It's relentless. I don't know how these two can stay together based on how desperate she is to stay famous and how desperate he is to stay afloat. She has a very specific goal, a goal that he doesn't share, and he doesn't know how to be a grown-up. He just learned how to start paying his phone bill 5 years ago. And he is having to take care of this high drama, very expensive individual. And I just think that he must be stressed out of his gourd.
I couldn't agree with you more. I know no better place to leave it for the very time being. Kinsey, my friend, I thank you. I thank you for joining me for this emergency discussion. I think we all feel a lot better.
Thank you. I love you.
Love you too.
Bye.
See you soon. Okay, so before we wrap this all up, 2 things. 1, this is how much we love you. You got a mini nerve this weekend. It's a good one. I'm very excited about it. I was laughing out loud putting some of this together. I think you guys are going to love it. But to wrap up our Duchess and her latest self-induced humiliation, twerking while about to give birth, allegedly, we're going to toss to this nerve fixture. Now remember, in this video, Meghan is the ship that just keeps moving towards certain disaster. And we, all of us, the troublemakers, are the immovable object, the bridge into which she repeatedly crashes and burns. Here it is just for you guys. It's coming apart. The Brooklyn Bridge has taken this ship apart, and it keeps going as if nothing's happened. Well, that never ceases to be amusing, really. And that's it for our Friday edition of The Nerve. But, as stated earlier, we've got a mini Nerve coming. We will see you on YouTube Saturday around 10 a.m. That's our regular coffee date. It's on YouTube, not pods yet. So be sure to check in there. And have a great weekend. I can't wait to see you all back here next week at The Nerve, where you will never guess what we're about to say next.